Okay, I'm back, and as you can see, I have completed assembly of all four extremities in the torso and the painting with the gloss black primer. I've got the arms, the head, and the boots all masked off because they are painted in the final Iron Man colors, and I had to do it that way because those were the areas that had lights, and if I was gonna put the lights in there, I had to seal them up. So that's done, and now the only part that's missing is the posterior torso, which I've been having here hanging since a couple days ago. It's all nice and dry. It's already also painted. The next step now is to complete the wiring, which is going to be a little intricate in such a small space, but it's doable. And let me show you what I have. This is the only set of wires that's going to go independently down through the right leg to the board for Ralph, because this is for the left arm, which is the outstretched arm with a repulsor that'll have the special effect. These are the two SMDs from the head. They have their own resistors. This is the SMD from the right arm. It has its own resistor. The 5mm LED that goes in here for the arc reactor is in the posterior torso, and it has a resistor wired in, 470 ohm. And each of the boots has its own 1.8mm LED, also with 470 ohm resistors. This is the right leg, and this is the left leg. I've already curled it around the chest to decrease its length. For the wiring, to reach the base, I have two pairs of wire that go through and exit out the bottom. Now the goal will be to use one pair for every light in the model except the left arm, and the other pair will be exclusively for the left arm. That's the one that'll go to the boards, that'll give the effect of the repulsor firing. All the others will be merged into that pair by wiring them all in parallel, all the positives together, all the negatives together, and all of them soldered onto one pair, which will go to the power supply, which will be interrupted by the switch. So that's my plan. That's what I'll be doing for a little bit. Once I have completed all the wiring and wire placement and I am satisfied that everything is working and lit up, then will come time to put the final piece on, glue it together, and then I'll do seam work on the sides, repaint, and then comes detail work on the armor. There are a couple of spots in front that also have a gray steel color that I'll have to mask. Those will be challenging. They're tiny, but if I get them to look right, they will add a lot to the model and they'll look really sharp. So that's my progress. I'll talk to you soon. Okay, I'm back, and he's put together. Everything's wired up. And man, oh man, oh man. Just for future reference, if you guys are doing these kits, do not glue the legs on before you put the torso. Big tip. Do not glue the legs on before you put the torso. I had to basically pry this open a little bit to make this thing fit in here, and of course that opened up my seam, which I had worked on so hard to make disappear. Now I'm going to have to sand it and fix it. Also some tidying up work I'm going to have to do. I thought that was a seam, but actually that's just part of the model. That's the way that's supposed to be there, so I'll just paint that. But all in all, he's now together and everything is wired up. The left arm is on this pair, and everything else is on this pair. And I've tested it, everything lights up. So now it's a question of tidying up the seams. Of course, there's going to be seams on the sides here that I'm going to have to work on. There's a seam on the groin there that is kind of difficult to get to. I'll see if I can do it. The seam on the right here is also difficult to get to because the arm is in the way. I may leave that alone since the arm covers it up anyway, and just work on the left seam as well as the seam that has been recreated here in my right arm, and some work here that needs to be done, sanding some more. Once I've done all that, I'll recoat with a gloss black and then proceed with my detail painting. The next color after the gloss black would be the pale gold Alclad. Show it to you again. Here it is. Once that's done, I'd mask off the areas I want to remain gold, and then the rest would be hit with the transparent red Alclad. And that will be it for that, and then comes the base. So some good progress today. I'll see you guys later. Hello again, modelers. Armando back with a final update on the Iron Man. I have now completed this this baby, and once again I must apologize for skipping ahead a little bit too fast on the videos without stopping to take some. I got into a groove, and I decided I wanted to finish it up, but it isn't that big of a deal. Most of what I did was detail work with masking, and I can describe that for you guys in detail so you know exactly what I did, so don't despair. I'll do that in a minute. As you can see, he is finished. He's all wired up and the lighting is working very nicely. I'll demonstrate that in a minute, but let me show you what I did. We'll start with the base because that's the last thing that I was supposed to do on the previous segment. Basically what I did was I masked off these areas, put Tamiya masking tape around them, isolated them. Well, this one was separate. This one I painted separately, and then I glued on there. But these were part of the base, and I masked them off. And this was done after I primered the whole base with the Alclad Grape Primer, and then I painted these in the Alclad Copper. Very nice tone. Then I took the MIG pastes. They're used for pin washing and for weathering military vehicles. I mixed a little bit of that with mineral oil to create a pin wash, which was a color like oil grease, and I applied some of that on top of these to give it more of an oil grease appearance, as well as the rest of the base, so that it would highlight the lines and give me more of a highlighted appearance. And then I took some of the charcoal black powder from I believe the place is called Secret Weapon Productions, and mixed it with a little bit of the mineral oil as well to create a darker pin wash, and I applied it on top of this to emphasize the dots a little bit. I had mixed success with it. You can see some of them work better than others, but at least it emphasizes it a little bit better and gives it more, because when you paint this copper, if you don't emphasize the dots, they all look sort of like that, whereas when you emphasize them, they look blacker and they jump out more. I don't know, it made it look kind of nice. Then after I was finished with those three things, I went ahead and painted the rest of the base with the steel, Alclad steel. That's the tone that you see there. And that completed the paint job on the base. Just tedious paint work and masking. Once I was done with that, I turned my attention back to Iron Man. As you'll recall, I had them all gloss black and I had to do some detail work. Well, I worked on the seams like I said I would. That came out pretty nice. Let's see if I can show you this seam here. Almost made it disappear completely. and I also did some detail work on some areas that got stripped and needed to be repaired. Basically, any blemishes or any areas that were in need of repair, I would sand and then reapply the gold, even if I already had red on it. This Alclad stuff is very forgiving. I would apply some gold over it and then some more red, and it would fix it without any issues. So that's what I did. I masked. First I applied the gold, then I masked off the areas that needed to stay gold, and I applied the red, and that's how I achieved the two tones. Then for final detail work, because there were some areas that were supposed to be sort of silver steel. For the shoes, as I said before, I used the Alclad stainless steel, but this stuff isn't very good for paint brushing. I tried using a paintbrush to apply it to the other detail areas, and it wouldn't stay on. So I just opted for some flat aluminum from Tamiya, and I painted those little details, the lines, with that, and these as well. And then once I was finished with that, I went ahead and placed a sheet of newspaper between the base and the Iron Man, and I set the Iron Man on the base so that would separate the Iron Man from the base, because I wanted to clear coat him with a nice glossy stuff, but I didn't want that to go on this. I wanted a contrast. So I went ahead and I clear coated him, giving him that shiny look, metallic look. And once that was done, I applied a light sheen clear coat Alclad, which is one of their finishing bases, which is glossy but not that glossy. It's sort of like an in-between, like a matte, to give it a little bit of a shine, like a metallic shine, but kind of matted down, dulled down just a little bit, so it would contrast with the shine of the Iron Man, and that worked out pretty well. I like the result. Once I was completed with the paint job, then the next issue was wiring up. So I took the wires and I drilled a small hole here, and I threaded all 4 wires through there, and now I will carefully flip it over and show you the spaghetti of wires underneath and what I did. Now, I want to be very careful with this. Here's what I did with the base. Now, the wires emerged from there. I don't know if you can see it. And this is the accessory pass-through board that Ralph provided so that we could give full power to the left arm SMD without losing the effects. I glued that board there. Then I put the rest of the wires through, and I glued a piece of styrene on there so it would hold most of the wires in place and they wouldn't fall down. Then I glued the main board with the effect and the sound there. I put a battery here with a piece of styrene bent into shape and glued together so it would hold it in place. And God, I hope that thing never wears out, because removing it is going to be a bear. So well, if I ever have to replace it, I guess I'll have to remove the speaker, but it was the only way to fit everything in there. And then I glued the speaker in by putting a piece of styrene bent so it would glue to the magnet and to the base itself, and that's what's holding it in place. And everything seemed to work out pretty nicely. It's all glued together and it's not falling over. For the switches, I used a mini switch that I got at Radio Shack. This is the main power switch, and this is a momentary switch which activates the repulsor sound. They're both hidden inside the base. I thought about drilling on the sides, but it wouldn't have fit very well and it wouldn't have looked nice. I thought it would disrupt the look of the base, so I decided to leave them in place like that. And I know where they are. I can reach them just by tilting it up a little bit, and that works just fine. So now let me demonstrate. And I'll turn off the light. It's daylight, so it's not completely off, but at least it demonstrates a little bit. So basically I just slightly tilt it. Let's see if I can find it. Still getting used to where it is. Okay, here it is.
Okay. Let me just lay down the camera so I can... Sorry about that, the camera turned off. Okay. Here it is. There we go. Okay. So now he is all powered up. The arc reactor is shining very nicely. The eyes are a little uneven. It's difficult to get them just right. The right one's a little bigger than the left, I know. But I had to accept a little imperfection there. My next one will be better. This is the left arm repulsor, the right arm repulsor, and the feet repulsors. Shining as if he's about to take off. They're powering up. I have a light leak here that I'm going to have to work on. You can see it there on the edge. I don't know how I'm going to fix that. I've got some canopy glue already in there. I may spray it with a little bit of the gold to opaque it, and then the red again as we described. The only issue is I've already got the clear coat on, so I'm going to have to ask Boyd, who's the expert with the clear coat. He's the one that uses it. If that's going to work. I would imagine it will. Anyway, here's the repulsor effect. Let me just press this. I think that's pretty cool. That's the actual sound captured from a YouTube, converted to an MP3, and I sent it to Ralph so he incorporated it into the custom board. So that's my Iron Man. Hope you guys enjoyed the build, and by all means, if you have any questions or any tips you want me to pass along, I'll be glad to. This was a learning experience. This is, right now, it's probably my favorite. I really like the way he came out. I love the contrast of the red and the gold. These outclads, again, do not disappoint. And that clear coat really is the perfect finishing touch. Look at the shine. He really does look metallic. So anyway, that's the Iron Man Mark III by Mobius. Talk to you later.